I'm Catherine, and this is my project Implant Enhanced, Brain Implant Simplified. This is my entry for Synaptic Hacks for the neurotechnology track, and I'm a high school student who worked on this project solo. Brain implants are a special type of neurotechnology, also known as brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. BCIs are placed deep inside of the brain to minimize unwanted symptoms. They work by electrodes, which can monitor electrical activity from neurons inside of the brain, and they can also manufacture artificial electrical activity as well. Artificial electrical activity can override unwanted activity that happens in the brain if they're causing abnormal symptoms. These symptoms can be from neurodegenerative diseases or other neurological conditions. The thing about brain implants, though, is that they're not very well known. Prior to researching brain implants on my own, I didn't even know that they existed. I thought they were something out of sci-fi. So one of my main goals with my project is to simplify brain implants, but also make them accessible and easy for the general public, potential patients, or neuroscience enthusiasts to understand. Specifically, I wanted to highlight the benefits and risks of using a BCI, how effective they are, but also versus the ethical implications of using a brain implant and some of the risks that come with that as well. And finally, one of the big parts of my project is providing a tangible service for those with BCIs after they get their post-implantation surgery. So let's take a quick demo of my project. So this is the landing page of Implant Enhanced. Implant Enhanced is a website, and this is the landing page. So this is the About page where you can learn about brain implants in general, along with some references and resources in case you would like to learn more on the topic. I focus heavily on deep brain stimulation since that is the most common application for brain implants. About 75% of all brain implants today are used for DBS. The way that it works is that a pair of minuscule holes are drilled at the top of the skull, and that is how we are able to put the electrodes in the brain. The electrodes are also attached to these long wire extensions that run from the two holes in the skull down the neck and to the neurotransmitter. I created this surgical diagram to make this information a little more easy to understand for those who are using my website. You can mouse over various parts of the diagram and read about them here. Another application for brain implants that I thought was worthy of discussing was implants for communication for those with paralysis. It might sound also out of sci-fi, but it essentially allows people to read minds. The way that it works is with the help of some artificial intelligence. By placing electrodes in the brain, we can monitor electrical activity from neurons firing. So when someone is thinking about particular letters and the movement it would take to draw that letter, we can map that electrical activity to an actual letter and figure out what someone is trying to say. With these types of brain implants, it allowed for paralyzed individuals to type up to 90 characters per minute with a 1% error rate. So that is a bit on how brain implants work on my website. And next I have applications for brain implants. So other than the paralysis issue that I discussed, I listed 6 other common applications for brain implants. And by mousing over any of these topics, I created a flashcard effect so you can learn about the individual applications, the disease, the condition, and also how brain implants aid that disease specifically. Generally, for most of these, it works in a similar way where the electrodes in your brain are preventing certain neurons from doing something to your body that is unwanted, causing symptoms from happening, and also stimulating the brain with DBS. So, for example, with addiction, rather than using drugs, you could stimulate the brain through electrodes instead in a more healthy way. And finally, on the Me page, this is where I provide a service for those who do have brain implants and after surgery might be experiencing some unwanted side effects. Specifically after DBS, deep brain stimulation surgery, brain implants are known to induce extreme personality changes or mood swings. Because neurotech in general is still a relatively new area, some of the other symptoms are still unknown, but after researching it for a while, I felt personally if I were to get a brain implant, this would be one of my biggest worries. So I want to make sure that people are able to monitor their emotional health if they have a brain implant. And so one of the ways that I wanted to do this was with a machine learning model so people can recognize their mood swings and how they might be feeling. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start, and it'll access your camera. And then you'll be, here we go. You'll be able to see whether you are happy or sad, and it's a good way to monitor your own emotions. So right now I'm happy. If I feel sad, then it'll recognize those emotions. And finally, I include a bit more on other ethical implications. So along with personality changes and mood swings, I talk about the surgical process and what some of that entails. sometimes during surgery, you can have pain and swelling afterwards, seizures, infections, headaches, or lacerations inside of the brain. Yeah. So that is a bit about Implant Enhanced, Brain Implant Simplified. So let's do a quick review on my attempts to also incorporate some of the core values of Synaptic Hacks that align with the goals of my website. The service that I provide with my website is a service to help those who wear brain implants after surgery. They can monitor their emotional well-being with my machine learning model. I also make a big attempt to help with social justice in the area of neurotechnology by making information accessible across all platforms. Since I'm creating a website, it's more accessible than handing out flyers or something like that. And it's also easy to understand because I don't use a lot of technical details when I'm explaining topics on my website. It's also sustainable. My machine learning service and the website that I created is easy for me to continually update, and it's also free for users to use.